People look for a life partner the same way they look for a friend, when they should be looking for their life partner the same way you would be looking for a business partner. Because you and your friend do not have to have, you can have only one thing in common.
But y'all been friends for 20 years.
You've been best friends for 20, but you only have one thing in common. You ignore everything else because you don't live together 24/7, and all that other bullshit doesn't matter. But you got this one thing in common that just, when you're together, it's all fun and games, and that's the, but then you look for a spouse that way, not realizing that a friend, you can get away from them and be away from them for a month or a year and then come back and everything's hunky-dory, just like you were together yesterday.
Because you're not dealing with everyday life.
But you can't do that with a spouse.
Oh, no.
Unless you're in the military. And then you could apply for deployment.
Somewhere, deep in the Ozark woods, lurks the two people everyone tries to avoid the most. If you're not careful, they may find you before you find them.
Start recording. And we're going. Wow. Okay, now we're trying something, another experiment. Got another configuration going with our headsets and the microphone and sound recording and our frames per second and our scaling and a whole bunch of other stuff. We're trying to get this smoothed out. So, all right, what one were we going to watch? Oh, Black Woman Says Never Date a Single Mother. So, yeah, this is 6 months old, but still we'll go in there and watch the Poor Man's Pockets. He had his name on one of these. I forgot what his name was now. Maybe we'll catch it on this one. Looks like it was Greg or something. I don't know. We'll see. Did you go feed the squirrel? Come on. You can do it. We can do it all night long. You gotta spin into that circle, and that's all night long.
This actually.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Did that scare you? Oh, yeah. Now your control is here. And, okay.
My mic thing is on. Your mic thing is on?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it shouldn't matter, but we still don't want to dick with it. Because it might.
Right.
But it shouldn't matter.
Right.
Okay. And we've got, this is picking up. We got our video where it needs to be. Pictures are everything. Hey, we saw that one little thing where we could do the add-on to where we could have a little banner flying around the screen, like we did at the restaurant around the menu board. Maybe little Christmas lights or something. Little snowflake coming down. We could do the snowflake over just on you.
No.
Yeah.
Press play.
Oh no, I was wanting to check something else too. That's that mic. Okay, that's that mic shut off. So that's that one shut off altogether. So it doesn't. We don't get an echo. I'm just checking everything.
Okay.
Okay. Your volume.
This is kind of a side topic, but I definitely wanted to touch on this before we end this. And I really hope that men really hear this. One of the worst things that you can do as a man is to become a stepfather. And
Please, hey, Nyla. Hey,
okay.
Nyla.
Oh,
You got to
yeah.
talk about this.
Right.
Please
So
talk to
this is
because anytime it comes from a man,
yeah.
they say it's just you hate women, you don't want to see the community get better. Who's going to take care of these kids if they don't have it? That's your responsibility as a mother. But I'm going to let you go ahead and do the
Yeah.
talking
And
because
so
we've already talked about it enough.
right. So I want to bring that up because that kind of bleeds into what we're talking about these young men. About the type of women they're going to get. Unfortunately, what a lot of men do, because there's so many single mothers out there, they get with the single mothers because they're very easy. It's easy to get with a single mother because she's desperate, and she's desperate. She's easy.
Or you do like a lot of guys do. They fall in love with the kids, and they only stick around with the kids, and there's nothing but turmoil between the man and the woman, but he's just sticking around for the kids because he falls in love with them. I've seen that happen a lot of times. Brad, guy that worked for me, had that for my brother. Doesn't have any kids of his own. He's got step kids out the yin yang. He's been married 4 times. I think there's kids in every one of them. And he considers all those kids his. And it's like some of them, I mean, they're just as close as, but he never had his own kids. And there was time, and he doesn't love kids the way I do. I mean, he's not he's like Joshua. Joshua adores kids, but he loves the fact that they go someplace else when he's done with them. You know, Joshua is the perfect uncle.
Yeah.
He's the fun uncle that will spoil you to the devil, but then
You gotta go home.
you gotta go home.
Yeah.
And you gotta take this BS home now.
Yeah.
And then he will do the shit that you'll know that will piss you off when he sends your kids home. You know, like a 2-year-old with a 10-pound chocolate bar.
No, that's you.
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
Oh, okay.
But Joshua has no desire to have kids. It's like my brother. My brother never had a desire to have his own kids. He was too busy being his own kid. See, I always wanted kids because my job was to pass on the.
You still want kids?
Do I still want kids? No. I like the idea of it, but no, I don't have the patience for it. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I know that with all the problems that I've got, I don't have the.
Are you good? I'm not upset.
No, I'm just saying.
No.
It's just, because you've seen me with the grandkids. I've got the patience of Job when it comes to the
Because they
grandkids.
go back.
Well, no, even when they didn't. Even when they were living with us.
Yeah.
Those kids wanted for nothing.
No, they didn't.
I could tell the parents to go to hell, but those kids wanted for nothing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
no, it's just, I know that I cannot be solely responsible for a child anymore. And with both our healths the way they are, we're lucky that we're lucky when both of us aren't sick at any one time. Yeah, we're generally one of us is sick, and then if both of us are sick, then who's going to take care of the kid?
Me.
No, you end up with the kid taking care of us. That's what I did with my parents. The kid ends up raising the parents. That's what Grandma always said. I learned to walk when I was 6 months old and changed my own diaper. So.
You can jump right in. You don't have to put in a whole lot of work with a single mother. But I'm going to say this, one of the worst things you can do is to get with one. And so what the women told you men, they said that when you get with us, that you're helping the community and you're doing a good thing. You're helping that poor child that doesn't have a father. You're going to step in and you're going to be the father and you are just helping the community. Gentlemen, you are not helping the community when you sign up to be the father of these women's children. You are not. Here's why. Because what you did when you signed up to be a stepfather, what you did is you made it easy for women to leave their men.
They
Because a woman
legitimized it.
knows I can leave my man. I cannot, I don't have to step with him because I know some beta simp is going to step in and pick up the pieces. That's what you're doing. Now, I'm saying this because my father was one. Okay? Not just my father, but I know many men that chose this route, and that's the worst thing you can do. And here's why.
Let me say one thing before you say why it's the worst thing you can do. I do want you to keep that in your mind.
Right.
We are not in certain situations. I get it. Okay, it's not all. But take the information and do with it what you will. All right. I also was raised. My mom was a single mother, and then she got married to another man who had children himself. So it made a little more sense because both people were bringing something to the. So we're not saying it's just black and white, this and that. If it's up to me, in terms of being strategic in your own life as a man and following your own purpose, this is not something you want to do. Tell them exactly why they should not do this, Nyla. Go ahead.
Well, first, let me say this. I know somebody, well, no, my mama, my stepdaddy was important to me. I get all that. So I'm going to repeat the words of, you ever heard of Jesse Lee Peterson?
Yes, sir.
He says this phrase, and I love it. Not all, but most. So if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But so now that's being said, if your stepdaddy was the greatest man in the world, then I'm not talking to you. That's fine. There's always exceptions to every rule. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, as human beings, we're animals and we have certain instincts, right?
Right.
Here's what happens. When you take on a woman that has another man's child, that woman will never fully respect you. She doesn't understand why she doesn't, but she doesn't. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to break it down for you. Now, the woman's mind, she's not breaking this down. All she knows is she can't respect this man. Here's what happens. Basically, what you're saying is this, that your seed, because a man carries a seed, right? Your seed is not good enough to produce your own legacy. So you're going to take on the legacy of another man and submit to this woman and build up another man's legacy. Now, the woman's mind doesn't fully grasp this, but all she knows is, I can't respect this man. For whatever reason, I just can't respect him. If you're a man and you respect your male authority, you want your seed to produce your own legacy. Okay? And so that's now, do we cognitively think all this stuff through? No. But like I said, we're animals like anybody else, and we have instincts. And so instinctually, a woman knows, man, this man done took on my kids. Something about me just can't respect this man. And I've heard story after story after story of stepfathers that took on a woman that had another man's children. And I've heard of men that have gotten abused, not just mentally, but physically abused by their woman.
Financially as well, all the time.
Here we go. Financially.
People look for a life partner the same way they look for a friend, when they should be looking for their life partner the same way you would be looking for a business partner. Because you and your friend do not have to have, you can have only one thing in common.
But y'all been friends for 20 years.
You've been best friends for 20, but you only have one thing in common. You ignore everything else because you don't live together 24/7, and all that other bullshit doesn't matter. But you got this one thing in common that just, when you're together, it's all fun and games, and but then you look for a spouse that way, not realizing that a friend, you can get away from them and be away from them for a month or a year and then come back and everything's hunky-dory, just like you were together yesterday.
Because you're not dealing with everyday life.
But you can't do that with a spouse unless you're in the military. And then you could apply for deployment. But that's where most of these military marriages fail after retirement, because they've spent so much time apart. They don't have anything but the one thing in common.
The kids.
The kids, and the fact that they're going to be gone from each other for and we've got this 30-day vacation or however long it is when you're home, and it's like, it's like a glorified Disneyland weekend, and then the the person goes around and redeploys and it's gone for another whatever 6 months or whatever. So, but then when that's gone, that one thing that you had in common is no longer there, and you got all the other bullshit to deal with that you did not know existed. So, and I think that's the mistake people make and we don't teach our children that. We do not train most parents do not train their children on how to be financially literate and how to budget their money and save and all of that. We don't teach our children that. But then we also do not teach our children dating skills like they used to. I mean, why in the 1800s in the civilized, I'm not like talking about, but in the cities and the a lot of times your spouse was chosen for you
by your parents
out of a pool of men or women that met the criteria that was going to help you continue your life in a positive direction, and that was done that way for a reason, because the parents weren't looking at the same thing that you were looking at as the love, whatever.
You don't know your spouse, you don't love her because you've never met her, but love grows.
Yeah.
You grow to love each other.
And if you have enough in common right off the bat, then love can grow. So if you come from, and I'm not, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying, or I'm not saying this is how it should be. I'm showing the positive attributes to how this works. But when your parents owned a printing company, whatever, and then they had children, and they want I want my children to go into the printing company. So who am I going to want them to marry? Somebody who would benefit the printing company, who has the same interests and the same goals, but not a competitor. Unless
somebody that provides the paper or the ink for the printer.
Yeah, or it could be, like I said, if you want to combine two companies and make but you have the same direction in life and the same goals and you've got that in common to start with. And like you said, unless they're just a total dick or bitch, love grows. But then they also, they had so little leisure time to worry about personalities, because when you're working 18 to 20 hours a day, 6 days a week, and the seventh day is church and everything else and all the family, that you don't have enough time where it's just the two of you alone getting on each other's nerves, because you're too wore out from everything else. So when you've got that going on, you're less likely for a marriage to deteriorate because of personality conflict, because you're just too tired to notice it. You're tired, I'm tired, we've taken care of everything, we go to bed. Get up and do it over again. There's, the only time you have to build extraordinary expectations is when you have a lot of leisure time, when you can daydream. But when you're just getting by hand to mouth, and you got 10 problems to deal with every day, but you only have the resources to deal with 6 of them.
10 problems downloaded, 15 in queue.
Yeah. You don't have time to worry about all of these other nuances. I mean, it's just, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you all buckle down and work harder to try to get along. It's when everything's said and done and you lean back and start to relax, take your breath and start to enjoy it, that's when you realize that you're starting to annoy each other because you've got time to realize it. Before you were just you're annoyed at everything and you can't isolate any one thing, and you just contribute it to the fact that, okay, I'm tired, he's tired, she's tired, whatever, we're both tired, we're both irritable, we're going to get through this. So, and then you get everything else done and then realize that you're both still irritable when you're around each other, but you don't notice it until after you got the time.
Yeah, leisure time.
The leisure time. So we've got so much leisure time now that we do not know what to do with because we expect everything to come easy. We look at the kids that want to start businesses, but they have no clue the work that's involved. And, they get their side hustle going and they decide, okay, I'm working 40 hours a week at this other job and I got my side hustle going and I'm only able to do it 5 hours a week. And, I'm making an extra $100 a week at 5 hours, that's $20. If I could do 40 hours plus that 5, look how much, okay, you don't own your own business and only put in 40 hours.
You wish. Unless you got a international corporation or something, then sometimes it works.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just they don't realize that owning your own business is more work. And then when you start breaking down all the time that you're putting into it to how much you make,
go by hourly rate.
You
making pennies on you.
Yeah, you're not making minimum wage.
No, you making peanuts.
Yeah.
You're the elephant and the monkey.
Yeah, you're the elephant and monkey, working for peanuts.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually abused by women because you made a choice to take on another man's legacy. I need our Black men to be built up. Your seed means something. Your seed means something, and you need your woman to respect that. A woman cannot respect you when you take on another man's seed. And we've all heard the story of lions. If a male lion takes over the pride, he's going to kill those cubs.
Gone. They're gone because that's.
And so yes, the male lion doesn't understand that. It's instinctual, right? So even in us, there's certain things that are instinctual. We don't understand it, but it's instinct. So a woman knows, wow, this man done came in and took me and my kid and this other dude. Wow, I just can't respect this man. She doesn't understand it herself. But all she knows is I can't respect this man. And she's not going to give it to you. I would love to tell the story of my family, but that's a rough one. Maybe I'll save that, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you want to tell it, we got time.
It's going to make this podcast. I do kind of want to tell it because I think people need to hear this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people listening right now. Now we got 600 people in the live. Make sure y'all hit that like, hit the subscribe button. I am actively helping Nyla get her own channel. She has her channel now, but I'm helping her put some things together behind the scenes so that she can really get this stuff out there. But yeah, I think a lot of people are interested in hearing what you got to say, Nyla. So if you want to tell that story, we got time.
I'm gonna try to condense it as much as possible. My father, God rest his soul, he's passed on now. He died of stage 4 lung cancer. But I love my father. But I would be a liar if I said that my father wasn't a beta. Okay. Now that being said, my father was a police officer, and he retired from the United States Army. So we have 2 flags. They give you the flag. We have 2 flags. My father was an honorable man. You would think that he was an alpha, right? What my father did, God rest his soul, he took my mother with 2 children, because this was back in the 70s. So all this information, the manosphere, this wasn't out back then. So back then, when you took on a single mother, that was an honorable thing. So my father, again, God rest his soul, he believed that taking my mother with 2 children was a good thing. But here's how my father's story ended. He took her on. My mother had 1 other child, and that was me. And I'm a female. So my father's legacy will not be carried on. My mother wouldn't have another
Wow.
child for him. She wouldn't have another
Wow.
child because I was the third child, so she wouldn't have another. So my father's legacy dies, unfortunately, with me because I take on my husband's legacy. Okay, my father stepped in. He worked hard and made a good life. He became a police officer, and now to this day, after his death, my mother, she didn't have to work another day in her life because that's how well my father provided for her. My mother did not give any inheritance to the children. He wanted to give an inheritance to me and his other daughters. She gave us nothing because that's the nature of a woman. I'm scared to death that my mother might hear this, but it's the truth. Let me say this. Here's how much my mother respected this man that took her and her two children in. When my father died, he requested that if he got to the point where he couldn't survive on equipment, he wanted the plug pulled to end his suffering. My mother didn't do it. She allowed my father to suffer for hours. And watch this, because she didn't want to pull the plug. So my father suffered. If she'd have pulled the plug, it would have lasted a few minutes and he would have been gone. She wouldn't pull the plug. My mother did not die by my father's side. She went home and went to bed. So my father died by himself. So I'm not saying that's every stepfather's legacy, but what I'm saying is it's more common than what we think. My father died believing that his wife was his everything, and this is what she did to him. I'm not alone in this. I know people say, well, Nyla, you're bitter. I'm not alone. Understand, gentlemen, and hear me clearly. When you take on a
Oh, Lana would talk, but she loves her dad, her stepdad. But she, the way her mama treated him. In fact, her mama come right. This is what Lana said. Her mama come right out when her stepdad asked her mama to marry him. She says, "I don't love you," and he says, "Okay, I love you enough for both of us." And he says, "Just stay with me. That's all I can." And he took the kids and adopted. They had one child between them. They had a little boy, and he committed suicide his senior year because he had to go to summer school to graduate. He wasn't going to be able to walk with the class.
Who put that much pressure on him?
I don't know.
Himself or the parent?
I don't know. I don't know. But he committed suicide his senior year. Instead of telling them that he couldn't walk with the class, he had to take summer classes to get, because he failed a class or something. But
And he was younger than Lana and them?
oh yeah,
Were Lana and them in college and doing good for themselves?
I'm going to tell you, I don't remember, but I know that Lana's mama had three kids by at least two daddies, and I'm trying to, but at least two daddies, if not three daddies. And when her mama got with the stepdad, mom didn't have, if I remember the story, did not have custody of all the kids. The kids were divided up amongst grandparents, and he married her, and the first thing they did was went and got all the kids. And that was like the first time all the kids had lived together in one house. And he raised them up. But I don't remember how old the kids were when they got together. They weren't babies. They were in school. But I don't remember. And I don't remember think the girls, the stuff. Okay, Lana's oldest brother was already gone. He left her. He left the family early and moved out on his own. He became a preacher. I guess she said in high school he was one of those. He carried a Bible with him constantly, and that was his goal. He wanted to be a preacher. And as soon as he graduated high school, I guess he would. But that left Lana and Janae, and I think they were at college when their little brother committed suicide. So
It might have been pressure.
I said, I don't know.
He might have put it on himself trying to be as good as them, feeling he might have disappointed his parents, or his parents might have put that pressure.
I don't know. I don't, because I don't remember enough of the story now to say. I'm not trying to make it a negative situation. I'm just saying that there is situations where I know, and I've met her dad, and he's a wonderful man.
He's still alive?
As far as I know, he was a statistician for the Defense Department.
I know you saw him.
But I would have classified him as a beta. It was a genius, but he wasn't an alpha. He wasn't an alpha male. So, but that falls into line. I mean, but I don't know what you would.
What are you, an alpha or a beta?
I
Do you
don't-
consider yourself an alpha or a beta?
Huh?
What do you consider yourself an alpha or a beta? Honest.
I'm what I need to be. If I need to take over, I will.
Okay, then that's how I.
But if I don't have to,
You won't.
I won't.
That's me.
But
If I have
but
to, I
in my
will. If I don't,
in my
I won't.
younger days,
can.
I had to be in.
I know.
But no. I would bow to age and wisdom.
Right.
But if
You can still be an alpha, but be wise about it.
yeah, but I'm saying, in my younger days, 20s, 30s, and 40s, if I was in a group of peers, then if I wasn't totally in charge, I was a heavy influencer of, because
In a relationship, me, if I'm not in a relationship and I'm like a zone, then I'm an alpha. But in a relationship, I am absolutely 100% a beta and prefer to be.
now see when I was
like with us, I prefer to be a beta.
I see when I was with Lana, we had role reversal. She worked and and brought in them. I went to school but I contributed what I took care of the house, took care of the yard, the things that I like doing anyway. But then I went to school. But
You
then
were a housewife.
yeah, I was a house husband.
Oh,
Or what was it, Mr. Mom?
Yeah.
And she worked, and she made all of the financial decisions, and that was only fair. But then when it came to other decisions in the house, there was a few times that we had a grappling on who was actually in charge.
And you came out on top.
Huh?
And you came out on top.
Well, I mean, it's just sometimes yes, sometimes no. But then when I went to work full time, and when we tried to move back to a more traditional style relationship, it didn't work because she wasn't willing to give up control. And I understand that. I mean, there was nothing because we went into the relationship with her having control. So when it came to the point where the relationship could pivot, or the relationship was going to morph or change, I couldn't expect her to change because that's not what she bought for. That's not what she agreed to. There's a difference, like, when she got cancer and I had to take over and start taking care of stuff, that was different. But when we're both working and now it comes time to, now I'm working and I have the capacity to make more money than you do, why don't you retire and come out and work with me in the oil field, and we can be together like you and I are, and you can draw a paycheck equal to what you're making now, and I can draw a paycheck more than what you're making now, and together we're making, almost 3 times. But she wasn't willing to do that because she wasn't willing to take the gamble. And most women will always choose security over risk. And she was secure in her. She had been in the same position for nearly 20 years. She had a career and she was at the top of the ladder. So I
guess I'm not most women. I took that risk.
Yeah, but I couldn't expect her to give that up, but you were willing to. And when you gave it up and we got together, then yeah, you won the gamble because your income went up at least 400%. Okay. So so 300+% your income went up for 5 years. But then I got sick and everything went south and COVID shut shit down. But now we're to the better or worse part. But see, we got married before everything went south. So, that's...
Even if we weren't married, I still wouldn't have went anywhere.
But I'm just saying, it's harder on me because this isn't what you bought into when we got married. Now, if you'd have married me...
Yes, it is.
But if you would have...
listened to our vows, yes, it is.
But you did not know. So you bought a pig in a poke.
No, I knew what I was getting into.
No,
because
you didn't know that you were going to go from...
Listen to me. I knew what I was getting into. I knew the risk that I was taking. For the simple fact, before we even got married, you explained the oil field to me, how we had that big boom how many every years ago, and then it went under, and the oil field can tank at any time, this, that, and the third. I knew that. So I wasn't blindsided. It's not like something that I did not know could happen.
But see, it wasn't just because we were planning for the oil field tanking. That's the reason why we opened the other businesses, and the reason why we bought all that property and invested in real estate. You saw us making a plan. You saw me with a future plan outside the oil field, and you bought into me having a plan that was working. At the peak, we had 3 companies.
Yeah, but
you
saw you have a plan that could possibly work.
But you didn't.
There was no guarantee.
Yeah, but you did. It's.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
Okay. Anyway, now.
Single mother and become a stepfather, that woman cannot respect you. I can give some other stories about some other people I know. That's just my story. But that is the reality. She can't do it. It's instinctual.
Do you have time to give your storytelling abilities? I'm sure everybody wants to. You could use not names or you can.
No, I won't use his name. I do have a friend of mine that he told me, because I told him I was going on the show. He said, please, use my story to warn, other men. So I'll give this next story. Okay. A good friend of mine.
1 second, before you start the next story, we have 623 people in here.
Okay.
Everybody hit that like button, first of all. Second of all, Nyla, it's Red Femme Diaries, right? Red F.
Yes, well, the
right,
Femme is
can you
spelled...
spell that out for me one more time? I'm going to type it into the chat right now and pin it up to the top.
Okay, so Femme is spelled Femme. And if I can break down why I gave myself that name.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
The color red, because red represents the red pill movement. I don't know if a lot of people know about that. Yeah, that's it right there. So red represents the red pill movement. You know what I mean? And we've all seen, we know where that comes from. That comes from the Matrix. The red pill is about waking up to the truth. So I like red. I also read, I'm not saying I'm an adamant Republican, no, but I do have conservative views. But typically when you talk about a red state or a blue state, we know what we're talking about when we say red, right?
Yes.
Right. Also
It's
red,
always, yeah. We
and
know.
also red. I am a Christian. Doesn't mean I'm holier than thou, but red represents the blood of Christ. So I chose that word red because it represents what I believe. Red pill, red states, red beliefs, red blood of Christ, red as the blood of Christ. I chose femme because femme represents femininity, true femininity, not what do you call this? The feminist movement. No, but I mean true femininity, and I want to really talk about that when we're done. True femininity. Excuse me. I had a stuttering problem when I was young.
Do what?
I got it.
Right here.
I know. I said I got it.
But is it on YouTube or is it?
That's why I get tripped up over words. And diaries, because these are the beliefs that I truly believe. And unfortunately, like I've mentioned several times, I've lost literally everybody in my life besides my husband and my children and my mother, because of my belief, because she's coming around too. And so that's why I called it Red Femme Diaries.
If you want to eat healthy and feel your best,
Huh?
you've got to try Kachava. Kachava is the
I know. I punched this to look for that page.
Oh.
See, I punched search for this.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know.
That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
Glasses on so I can see here. Okay, her first one was 6 months ago. First one was 6 months ago, and her last one was 10 days ago. 11 days ago, 2 weeks. She had 2 weeks ago, 10, 11, 4 weeks. So it looks like she does. Here is 4 weeks ago, she did 2. A month ago, she did 3. 2 months ago, she did 2.
Further sporadic. She's not consistent.
Yeah.
Well, subscribe to her though.
Well, I want to let's listen to a little bit more because you can hear one good thing from them because I had that happen before. I listened to one and oh yeah, man, I like it. And then I started listening to some of that
I wanted to do this tomorrow.
one. 12:25. So what?
Okay. Got shit to do tomorrow. We got laundry to do. And stuff. That white monitor is in there because it's on this table.
Let's see. The lead speaks to April. Okay. socialism satanic. Maybe a little hyper religious for me.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying. I mean,
Hello, all, and welcome back to my channel, Red Femme Diaries. You know, there is one thing that I do not understand. I do not understand how there are so many people that actually want socialism and communism. There's people that really want big government, and they feel like the government, you know, is supposed to pay for their health care, their education. They want all these things for the government, and that never made any sense to me. There's a scripture in the Bible. It's
Done.
yeah. See, that's what I don't like, because not enough people are religious enough that you should not use religion and the Bible as an argument, because not right. There's a lot of people like you and I. Okay, if that's where you're going, if you're going to say that God said this and it's in this book and it's all on
How do you
faith.
know?
Yeah.
Did he come down and talk to you?
Yeah. So, no, when they start, the Bible is something good to live by, good morals, good
Yes.
values. But as far as the Bible being the Word of God, the way
Man wrote it. Man transcribed it. So they're going to put in what they want.
it's the stories of a bunch of wise men at the time who sold themselves off as being the spiritual leaders of the time. Just like we've got these preachers at these super churches, send money to me and I'll keep you in touch with God. This will get us into one of these days we're going to have to go through my spoon theory, because the spoon theory answers all of these questions.
I don't know. I just get irritated.
No,
And I know with everything that is me. I know for a fact. If my grandmother heard me, she would have 2 or 3 things to say. She really would. Marilyn Ridgway would have 2 or 3 things to say. But my thing is this.
I mean, she's probably. We've listened to a couple of things, because I listened to her here too, because I've watched this one. It's got a red line under it, so I've watched this one, but not watching her. She just happened to be on one of these other guys' shows that I watched, and he was talking to her. So I've listened to her twice now, and I listened to this whole one here when he was
Which one has the red line on it?
Anthony Brian Logan. This one right
You
here.
ever watched any of those videos?
Huh?
You ever watched any?
Right here. I watched
Oh, okay.
it. See?
I can see.
See, I've
Okay.
watched that one, and I watched most of it, so evidently she didn't say something that set me off. And then we watched her, with PMP, the Poor Man's Podcast, and she says some things that I agree with. It's just when they go off on this religious tangent,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to prove the point, no, it doesn't. You're not proving the point at all.
I mean, it's not that I believe or disbelieve in God, but when they say the Bible said, okay, the Bible said, how do you know the Bible is right?
But
Man transcribed that Bible.
But
man's going to put in what man want to put in it.
But it's not just that. But what if they're Muslim and they don't believe in the Bible? They believe in
Allah.
Yeah, and the Quran. Okay, the Bible says, well, I don't read the Bible. I read the Quran. Okay, no. Or what if they're Wiccan?
Yeah.
You can't assume that everybody's Christian and has those same Christian values, so you can't use the Christian values to justify a secular belief.